Welcome to Subramani. This is a complicated kind of a video because I don't know what title to give it. So recently when I was doing spaces on Twitter, people keep asking me this question, whether it's on Twitter or everywhere. Tell us some share which we can buy and keep it for 40 years like you have done. Please understand, whether it is making investments in a particular company or in a particular fund, you never invest for 40 years or 50 years or 120 years. You don't know. You buy it, you think that the numbers are adding up, it's good, the numbers look good. So it's about the calculator of yours working well and saying this number is good, so this share should be bought, or this fund is a good fund to invest in, this fund manager has these characteristics and therefore it is worth investing. And then you keep looking at it regularly. And you say, okay, he's doing well, he's creating alpha, he's not creating alpha, doesn't really matter. Then at some stage you get to perhaps meet the investor through his books or through his writing or through his videos or in person, right? So one of these things will happen, and then you realize that, look, this guy makes sense. So you stop looking at it on a quarter to quarter performance or even on a year to year performance. So some shares, when some fund houses in which I have invested, I've invested in 1998, 99, in 2000, 2003. I've just invested and stayed there. I've just done nothing. Maybe I've added once in a while. Maybe I've removed once in a while because I needed money. That's a different thing. But I don't think I've even removed any money from any mutual fund except for switching, right? So I've switched and said, okay, this fund is not doing anything, so let me switch to something else. So that I have done, but I've never removed because I wanted money. Yes, sometimes some fantastic opportunities arise when you think this is a superb opportunity to switch. For example, when the Franklin Templeton debt issue happened, many of their hybrid funds were closed, and that was a fantastic time to be entering it because they had put a 20% discount to the NAV for exiting. So which means for entering also you had that 20% discount which was available, and that played out well. So some tactical moves like this I may have shifted cash, but otherwise I have not shifted out of a particular good fund manager for over long periods of time without worrying about quarter on quarter performance. Similarly, I have Hindalco, bought in 1957. Yeah, I repeat, 1957, which was bought by my dad before his marriage. So is it older than me? Fairly obviously older than me. Now, what happens to such shares is, yes, it has gone through bad times. When there was a time when Indira Gandhi had put a ceiling on aluminium prices and said you cannot price aluminium beyond this, therefore you can't declare a dividend, etc. But my father just sat through those bad periods. I think it was in the 60s. After that it did well, then it did badly. Then of course you can have some theory saying if you had not bought it, if you had not been in Hindalco, if you had been in say Colgate or Pfizer or Siemens, you would have got better return. Yes, true, but then I had them too. But in 1957, Colgate or Siemens was not available. That was available in 1978. But sitting through for 62 years on a particular share, which that to a commodity share, is not going to be very easy. So yes, I have sold Hindalco in the past. I have bought it back. I still have some shares, no, not exactly the same number which I should have if I had not sold anything. So some shares you will sell. So some, whether it is a good share or a bad share, before you find out whether the promoter is good. For example, I'm a 1978, 79 entrant into HDFC Limited. It took 10-15 years to find out that it's a fantastic promoter, it's worth holding. But you can't just say I bought it in 78 and did not sell anything, right? So some sales will happen. Some of those, so concentrating on those things is more important than worrying about macro. So again the question is, what is the current macro situation and what would you do about it? So let's face one thing. I have zero ability to say what is going to happen tomorrow, right? January, February 2020, we were worried about interest rates, inflation, etc. And March 2020, we started worrying about COVID. In September 2020, we were worried about when will the vaccine come, and the markets were already discounting the vaccine, right? So you thought, oh my God, this is too early. You thought about all these things. So I don't want to guess too much about the macro. I don't understand macro. I understand that I don't understand macro. So I'm more on the Peter Lynch mode. that if I have spent 10 minutes on macro, I wasted 7 minutes, right? So I don't understand macro, so I don't bother too much about macro. I look at my portfolio, whether it is individual shares or whether it is mutual funds, and say, is this portfolio looking good? And if the answer is yes, I just invest, right? So I should have money to invest. If I have money to invest, I invest. If I don't have money to invest, then I look at my portfolio and say, which is one share or which is one fund from where I can shift to this fund or this share, right? So these days it's more about funds, but I will never stop talking about direct equity, right? So right, that is bound to happen. Also, one thing you must realize, that market will go through cycles. A boom will be followed by a bear market will be followed by a bull market, and a bull market will be followed by a bear market. Can we avoid that? We can't avoid that. Can we avoid recessions? No. Should we be worried about recessions? Actually, I think no, because that was a time when some of the purge will happen. For example, when GST was introduced, when the demonetization was introduced, very clearly a lot of small unorganized businesses would have been hurt. But for them, the government created a safety net in terms of food grains, etc., right? So when you have to create a safety net, there is going to be a lot of destruction going ahead. Next 10 years, we will see more destruction than what we saw in the past 10 years, right? So you will see destruction. So you will see you'll appreciate, though, this is fantastic growth that is happening. That is true. Fantastic growth is happening in certain businesses, but for that, certain other businesses are dying. Now, something like Zomato, is Zomato good for you as the end user? Maybe yes, because the convenience that it is being delivered at home. Is it good for the restaurant? Yes, it is, because he is now he is happy to pay a small premium to Zomato because he is saving rent. Right, he could use one table at a time, which is using, but his kitchen, the utilization of the kitchen is improving. So the Zomato and the buyer and the seller both are benefiting by a service like this. So there are restaurants which I see in the place where I stay, which are small restaurants. The kind of business that they are doing on Swiggy, I think their Swiggy and Zomato business should be 2 times their regular business. That is the kind of business that they are doing, especially early in the mornings. For breakfast, the afternoon for lunch, the sit down people or the people coming and eating there is much less than the people who are ordering on the takeaways, right? And those orders are no longer small, the orders are big, because I think family is ordering, so those orders are big. No, it's too much of a pain to dress up, take your car, drive, pay for the valet, right? So all that. So when you add all those costs, you don't mind paying a little extra for Zomato. So yes, tastes keep changing. So tracking some of this makes sense, but not tracking the economy and saying, oh my God, now there is going to be a recession, what should I do? Really nothing. If the market comes down, you're getting more units at a lesser price. So if you are at the stage when you should be investing more, you should be happy that you're getting more units, right? So I don't think there is anything that you need to do very different. So yes, I don't know which share to buy, etc. on a 40-year basis, but I keep looking at it, and after a few years I decide I'm not going to look at it on a quarterly basis. I don't see the results of Hitachi, earlier called ABB, or Siemens, or Colgate, or HUL, or Pfizer, or any of these shares on a regular basis. I just look once in a while, right? For example, if somebody had told you that there will be a pandemic and the biggest the vaccine would be made by Pfizer, and Pfizer shares would definitely do well, the answer is it's not done much well. From March 2020 to today, it is not done too well. With all this information, if you had bought Pfizer, you would not have made much money, right? So it's important for you to understand that some trends you can understand, some trends you may not be able to understand. Macros is not something, I mean, so many companies in the world, 200,000 companies, 300,000 companies in the world, so many countries. To say macro, what will happen in US, what will happen in Japan, will the European Union get together and perform, right? All these questions have to be answered. I can't, I just have no ability to do that. So I'll stick to what I know and what I understand, and I'd rather spend time on what I enjoy doing, which is planning vacations for myself and for my friends. Thank you.